Now, how about them damn Celtics?
And we are back with another episode of How About Them Celtics. Sam and I are here recording on Wednesday, October 16th. And we've got a little time before the season opener. Now, preseason is over. Next Celtics game will be opening night, the ring ceremony, the banner ceremony, all that good stuff against the New York Knicks on Tuesday, October 22nd at TD Garden. But for now, we've got a week of content to fill. So it's like August again, except we actually have stuff. So it's not August again at all. But we're
There's
here.
enough going around because people are excited. There's actual games still happening for some teams.
Yes.
And, teams have actually been playing games. We actually have things to talk about in reflection of what the Celtics have done. So it's not completely August. We don't have to wish that upon ourselves, but it's good to be.
No, we're still chilling. Let's jump right in. Let's talk about the Celtics preseason. We're gonna do some winners and losers here. How do you want to do this? Do you want to do winners first? Do you want to do losers first? Do you want to do we each give 3 of each and we can't have the same one, so we're just talking
let's do like a draft.
Okay. And we'll talk about them obviously, so we're not just
let's do
rapid firing, but
let's do a winners draft and then a losers draft.
Okay. Do you want first pick in the winners or losers draft?
Let's do a coin flip. Let's do a coin flip live.
Here, I'll pull it up.
Got to add the stakes.
Okay, here we go. All right, I'm going to share a screen. I'm going to go to Google. You're going to flip a coin. Sam, you're going to call heads or tails. And if you win, you get first pick in the winner's draft.
Tails.
All right, if this is tails, you get first pick in the winner's draft, which we'll do first. All right, I get first pick in the winner's draft. Okay. You get first pick in the loser's draft. Number one winner. Ooh, that's a lot of pressure. Number one winner of the preseason. And I can only pick one player, right? I can only pick one player, obviously.
Yeah. Do you want to do? Why don't we just alternate back and forth? We don't have to.
Yeah, of course, because you're gonna get the first pick in the loser's draft, anyways. This is tough for me because I have like 3 names in my head, so I am going to go with Jordan Walsh as the number one winner of the preseason.
Good pick.
I was stuck between a couple guys, but I decided on Jordan Walsh. I think Jordan Walsh proved that he can play actual minutes this year. I don't think he'll get significant minutes throughout the course of the season because of Sam Hauser and because some other guys are going to be ahead of him in the rotation. But he proved he can. And after the summer league we saw this past offseason in Vegas, that is the biggest step he could possibly make. He looks like a completely different player. The game looks like slowed down for him. His shot looks confident. He's making them. And he told reporters the other night, he said, honestly, I haven't changed anything. They're just going in now, which is like awesome.
I think we should all be concerned.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, that just makes summer league even more of an anomaly, but he can make plays off the dribble. He's passing the ball well. He's hustle rebounding, which is fun to see. He's still providing that defense. He moves his feet really well. You can see the clear outline of an NBA player, which is kind of what we saw in 2023 summer league. And now you're seeing it again in the preseason now, except he's a bit more filled out, a bit more smart with the ball in his hands, etc. So it's good to see. I think he's a massive, massive winner of preseason.
Who wouldn't agree with that? I mean, I wrote about Walsh. You wrote about Walsh. He looked fantastic on Sunday when we were both at the Garden, and he was a primary talking point, I feel, amongst all of us in the media. He's just looked far different than he did in Summer League, and it's pretty incredible considering how dead we all thought that might have been because he just looked more and more lost as each game went along. So shout out to Walsh, man. I know our first to the floor fellas are very excited about that. For my pick, I will go with the third leading scorer of the preseason, Peyton Pritchard, with 16 points a game.
Ooh, okay.
Very similar to last season where he did the exact same thing in the preseason. But this year, he's been mighty efficient too. He finished with a 48 field goal percentage, 48.8 3-point percentage. And not only was he making baskets, but he was also setting his teammates up 6 assists per game. And he didn't even average a turnover each night. Less than a turnover, 0.8 per game. He looks really poised. He looks like he's polished this year. And we always knew that Peyton Pritchard could score, but if he's going to be making an impact with the Celtics, he's going to have to do more than just that. The rebounding also looks really good. My dad said it to me during the game, and this isn't really anything new. Keith Smith has been sharp on Pritchard being maybe the best offensive rebounder per inch in the NBA. I think that's a legitimate stat. That's like
I think he made it up, but I see him tweet it all the time. Oh, what is it? OP? No, OR or PIT, something like that. Yeah, per inch or something like that. I know exactly what you're talking about. I just can't remember exactly.
It's got to be a real thing. At least the eye test says so. I think Pritchard is poised for a fantastic season. He clearly gained a lot of confidence. Not that he needed any in that playoff run, being the guy that managed to have big moments, even though he wasn't given big opportunities. He's somebody that made all of the heaves. He made shots at big moments in games. In particular, the one that stands out to me the most is in Cleveland. He made a bomb from the logo in the third quarter as the Cavs were kind of storming back, and it set the tone for the remainder of the game. Pritchard can do that in bulk this year, and he may be set up for even more of an opportunity because we talked a little bit about it yesterday after the Raptors game, but Drew Holiday rested a lot in this preseason. If they have any intentions of giving him a break throughout the regular season, Pritchard is the number one candidate, obviously, to step in, maybe start, maybe come off the bench and just eat more minutes. Regardless, he's going to have more opportunities to play with the starters. And he looked really comfortable doing so in the preseason. Like, that's the big win for me, is he's fine catching and shooting. I don't think he always was comfortable doing that. And he was more of a creator a lot of times. But now he can play off the ball and he's comfortable. That's a big win for Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah, Pritchard's look great. Obviously, like you mentioned, he started that last preseason game against the Raptors in place of Drew Holiday. Looked awesome. He's just so good at whatever the Celtics need him to do. Like if they need him to handle the ball and make plays, he can. He's had like 10 assist games plenty of times. They need him to rebound. Clearly, he can TJ McConnell his way into the paint and get some boards. If they need him to score with the ball in his hands, he can. If they need him to catch and shoot, he can. He's just very versatile at this point in his career. And the fact that they trust him on defense enough to put him out there too is a big thing as well, even though he's never going to be the best defender just because of his size. He can hold his own. So, I planted my flag on the Peyton Pritchard 6 Man of the Year campaign after the first preseason game, and I'll stay there. And I don't know if we'll get the stats, but I'm hoping he can get the opportunity to do so. My second winner, I'm going to go Xavier Tillman. You had to see it coming. I didn't want to pick him first because I wanted to plant my Jordan Walsh stake here after being wrong during the preseason, or the summer league, I should say. But Xavier Tillman looked awesome in this preseason. Obviously didn't hit any of his threes in the final game, but he was offensive rebounding. He was flashing some playmaking skills, which he showed in Abu Dhabi as well. He was playing good defense, always in the right spot, very high IQ player. That's what you hear from coaches, from players, from everybody who talks about Xavier Tillman. And I think the biggest thing for me in this preseason is he can play the 4 and the 5. Like he played some minutes with the starters at the 5. He can do that. He can guard big bodies. He can play some minutes at the 4 as well because of that floor spacing and the confidence they have in his shot, as well as his ability to guard smaller guys. He just looks like a piece that can fit in and do whatever the team needs him to do. And considering Kristaps Porzingis being out till December and Al Horford being 38, they need a guy like that. And Tillman was like, yeah, I can do that. And the team won't fall off. So very obviously I'm biased, but I think he was awesome in the preseason.
He certainly looked more comfortable than he did last season. And he's actually given an opportunity this time, right? Like that was the big story with Tillman throughout the back half of the 23-24 season. And then throughout the playoffs was like, this guy is someone they traded for and he's on an expiring, yet they haven't really done anything with him. And they haven't played him. Throughout the playoffs, people were kind of clamoring for Tillman to play, and we didn't really get to see it much until the finals. Now, after signing the minimum deal for multiple years, having a off season under his belt, rather, where he has clearly got to put in the work, this is a great thing. Like, this is just another, I don't want to say angle, but like weapon that you can just use off your bench with that big man spot. With Porzingis out, all of these big guys are so important right now because they're going to have to be more prominent in Boston's game plan. And Tillman being able to knock down threes at let's say for the preseason, X shot 54.5% from 3. So I think that's a little bit better than the 22% or whatever it was advertised when he was joining the Celtics. And again, I talked about it with Jake on the pregame yesterday, Jack. We were talking about the threes. I had to let him know about the threes just for you because that's your little feud, rivalry, whatever.
Thank you.
And Jake was like, I've seen a lot of Grizzlies fans like talking about this, being like, oh, they don't know. They don't know about how bad this can be. And the difference is, well, as great as Memphis is, and they had very great players when Tillman was there. Like he was not by any means playing with bums. But the Celtics have more great players, and the spacing is more spacious in Boston, and he's getting open looks every time. It makes a difference, believe it or not.
And for what it's worth, I'm working on a story about Xavier Tillman. I talked to somebody who coached him in Memphis, and that little bet I have with Jake about 38% on 100 shots, I'll spare the exact wording, but he feels pretty good about my end of the deal. So I'm feeling pretty okay about Xavier Tillman's 3-point shot right about now. Yeah, I feel pretty good. I've intel that not intel, but 3-point shot something Xavier Tillman has been working very hard on throughout his career. So I'm feeling all right.
I'm going to stick with the big boys. Luke Cornett, another big winner from the preseason.
I was hoping you did.
9 points a game, 6.5 rebounds on just 18 minutes. That's probably around what he's going to play this season. And those are good numbers. On top of that, he is more efficient through 5 games than he was last season, which was 70% from the field. He shot 74% throughout the preseason. He has just become the most reliable rotation big guy you can possibly have. He's the safest bet. He's vanilla ice cream. It's one of my favorite analogies that you've ever made. It's just so perfect because you can always count on him. On top of that, he's blocking shots. He's shown in the past he can be a rim protector. And then on top of that, he's all of a sudden got this vision as the short roll man and hitting the guys on the perimeter. He's going to be a massive conduit for Boston's ball movement throughout the regular season. And as they try and push for Banner 19, he's hopefully going to be more serviceable than he was in the playoffs last year. Last year, it felt like he got played off the floor at times, even though he looked solid in the regular season. I think we're all hoping that he can come back and play better. Now, the question, I guess we can quickly stop and talk about this now in the middle of the rankings or the draft, but do you see Boston moving off of any of these big guys at the trade deadline this year with Porzingis coming back or no?
I don't necessarily think so. The only one that I could maybe see is Keita, and I don't think they would do that because I think they see him more as a developmental project. Sort of like when Jordan Love sat behind Aaron Rodgers, or all these quarterbacks sit behind guys. As stupid as that sounds, like they don't need Keita right now. Realistically,
Keita is Aaron Rodgers sitting behind Brett Favre. He's
Luke
Brady
Cornett
behind Bledsoe.
They don't need another center right now, but as the inevitable financial crunch of the roster kicks in and Al Horford eventually ages out, like in 3 years, it's a realistic possibility that Horford and Porzingis are not on the team anymore. As crazy as that sounds, right? And I'm not saying Keita is the Aaron Rodgers, but he could be a legitimate rotation guy in X amount of years. I think he could be a rotation guy now. The reality of the situation is just there are better options in front of him. And at that point, whether it's Tillman or Cornett or whoever you feel comfortable starting, you could still have him coming off the bench. So I don't think it'd be worth it for them to trade him, especially since they got him on a 3-year deal at, sorry, I got the hiccups, at such a low price. But I don't think it's impossible.
No, for sure not. All right, Jack, who's next?
Drew Peterson.
That's a great pick. I was going to pick him. I have a backup pick in mind, but go ahead. Great pick.
So I wrote an article today that I think some people might not like, but I wholeheartedly believe it. And I called it the one player the Celtics should sign instead of Lonnie Walker IV. And it's Drew Peterson. Because one, it would cost him less money because he's played in the NBA for not as long. And so the salary for a player with fewer years of experience is smaller. Two, he's already on a 2-way deal. So you can just do what you did with Mish Keita last year and sign him later in the season and pay a prorated rate rather than the full season minimum contract. And three, and people aren't going to like this part, I think he makes more sense for this roster than Lonnie Walker does. Like currently at this moment, I don't think he's a better player than Lonnie Walker by any means. Lonnie Walker is clearly an established NBA guy and a talented player. But in terms of the fit, like Lonnie Walker screams microwave scorer. He screams somebody who needs a bunch of shots and able to do vision. You look at his stats last year, he was red hot in the first half of the season for the Nets. Post All-Star break, 31% from three, just completely fell off a cliff, and then averaged out to a good 3-point number. But the reality is a tale of two halves, right? And I like Lonnie Walker, but in the preseason, at least from what I watched, I think Drew Peterson was even a better defender. Lonnie Walker got lost a few times. He left his man in the corner. He got caught ball watching, and Drew Peterson obviously doesn't have the same NBA body as Lonnie Walker does right now, but he was in better position. He was able to be in the right spots more often and not lose track of things. Add in the fact that I think he is more of a catch and shoot guy than Lonnie Walker is, just in terms of his general play style and his comfortability putting the ball on the floor and his comfortability playing within the offense and passing, and the fact that you've already had him in the system for X amount of years and he's on a 2-way. I think he makes a lot more sense to Lonnie. Plus, the whole reason he's on the winner list, he looked awesome in the preseason. He was really, really good. He was their leading scorer one night. He was getting to the free throw line with ease. He bailed them out of a few huge situations in a ton of different games in the preseason, in the late in the shot clock, just putting the ball on the floor and making something happen. He looks like a complete all-around basketball player, and I think that's pretty underrated. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports, and unlike other apps, on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. One Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on PrizePicks for every week in September. That's right, only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss this deal on PrizePicks because it's gone when September ends. Also, you can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. Sam and I used PrizePicks all season long while on How Bout Them Celtics pregame shows. We picked Jason Tatum dunks, we picked Drew Holiday steals, we picked a ton of stuff, especially during the finals when Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, we were kind of preying on their downfall. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly. When you play $5, that's code CLNS on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. Ben Grunert, who writes for Hardwood Houdini, I wrote about him this morning. He messaged me in like our Slack channel and was just like, dude, that's such a good call. He's very underrated. I was in Atlanta for the G League game when Drew Peterson had a triple-double in the G League. Like he is so much more than the catch and shoot guy that I think a lot of us expected him to be when the Celtics signed him off the Heat's G League team last year. And he proved that in this preseason. He said at Summer League that he was working on putting on some weight. He said he already did, and he's still going to work on that. He looks like the archetype of an NBA player. Now he's not like 20, he is 24, so he's on the older side, but still he looks like a guy who could grow and be a part of this team. So I'm all in on Drew Peterson after what I saw in this preseason, and I think another year in the G League will be really good for him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you have the Real GM slate up like right in front of you, but I have it. Drew Peterson, 4th leading scorer on the Celtics in the preseason. Now, like the minutes are skewed and everything, but Drew Peterson, 60% from the field, 54.5% from 3. He averaged the 2nd most free throw attempts behind Jalen. Like, that is nothing to sneeze at. All of your points are valid. If he could put on a little bit more weight, I think he could really be an asset for the Celtics, and he could join the Sam Hauser, Luke Cornett, random white guy that they plucked out of Maine that all of a sudden is an impact guy on the Celtics. Like, would be really nice. He just has a little bit more developmental stuff to do with his body before you can really start to consider him for that. It's tough because I don't know. I kind of want to see him get some burn this year just because I want to see how he holds up against, fully developed NBA players who are strong. And I want to see if he can defend, like I think that's the biggest question mark now. But the rest of it, he looks confident. He shot the ball well. He made big shots. He was comfortable being the ball handler. All of these things are very important coming off of Boston's bench because you have to come in and be able to take on whatever role they ask you to do. And he has multiple skill sets that he can tap into to do that. It's great.
100%. All right, who's your last winner?
Rare for me. Tatum.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Hell yeah.
Tatum looks good, man. Tatum, who couldn't hit the side of a fucking barn all summer long, dating back to the beginning of the playoffs into March, right? 39% from 3 in the preseason. Yep. The step backs still aren't going in, but the fact that he's taking a more versatile slate of threes is encouraging. I think everyone should be happy about that. To go along with all of that stuff, he's playing well-rounded basketball, 6 and 5 respectively rebounds and assists. I don't really care about the counting stats as much, but it's just more of the play style looks better. He did like kind of get lazy in the Raptors game in the second half, firing up some shots. But in the first half, we talked about on the recap, he was a big part of how they stormed back from 24 down. Like he was dunking the ball. He was getting out in transition. He was aggressive. The more Tatum goes inside, the better. He has potential to have a massive season this year. All of the eyes are going to be on the Celtics, and they're going to be on the Knicks, and there's going to be a lot of talk of a rivalry, and the Celtics are going to have pressure to repeat. Nobody cares if Tatum averages 30 points a game. The two of us would prefer he doesn't. The fact that he's going to be out there and be under control and playing a different style of basketball in comparison to the guys that have to do that, and he can just, much like I said about Drew Peterson, kind of fill whatever role the Celtics need him to do. It's funny that I'm comparing the two of them now that I say it out loud, but that's kind of what goes into being a Celtic and working with this team is that Jason Tatum can be a distributor. He can be a crash the glass guy. He can be a scorer if they ask him to. That's all super important.
Yeah, no, Tatum was really good in the preseason. Still want to see him be a bit more aggressive going to the hoop and getting to the rim and finishing around there, but he was pretty impressive, especially with that 3-point shot. So that was good to see. All right, Sam, you have the first pick for the losers. It's less glamorous, but I'll let you go first here.
There's like a bunch of guys. I'm gonna go with Shireman. I thought Shireman was pretty disappointing this preseason. He showed some nice flashes in the summer league. He was nowhere near perfect. He certainly showed glimpses of like loss of confidence and stuff like that throughout that time in Vegas too. But the preseason was brutal for him. Only 16% from the field, 17% from three. Some of his misses were really ugly. He just doesn't look quite ready to be out there on the NBA floor just yet, which sucks because we were all excited about the draft pick. Brad Stevens was excited about it. It was the first time he picked somebody in the first round. And the big selling point on Shireman was that he was going to be able to come in and help the guys right away. Now, I wrote an article about this. It was only a couple games into the preseason, but I think it's still true. You can't really like judge him off this 5-game stretch. Like, yeah, he looked rough. He's also a guy that's playing his first days in the NBA. Like, he's probably fucking nervous. And then he's waiting for 3 quarters to get into the game sometimes. And he feels like he has to go out there and prove some things. I'm sure there's a lot of mind games that goes into that. Not that anyone's playing with him, but that he has to overcome in his own right. Confidence is a tough thing. If you lose it, it can be hard to go out there and do what you know how to do. These guys spend their whole life being the best player on the floor, and then they have to come into a team that just won a championship and be the 15th guy. It's not easy. But yeah, I think he looked rough. I think some time in Maine will help him. I hope it could be good for him. I'm excited to see what he does there because we could really get a look at his well-rounded game. But right now, it doesn't look to be there in the preseason. It's tough.
Yeah, the game just looks too fast for Shireman right now, and that's fine. He's a rookie; it's bound to happen. But maybe you're hoping to see a little bit more from him, considering he's an older rookie. I'm sorry to do it to you. I'm going to do it so you don't have to.
Yeah, that's why I didn't do it.
Jaden Springer. I just to save you the pain of having to say it. This is a rough preseason for Jaden Springer, man. He hit his shots, ironically enough, which is like the one big thing. And he shot 50% from 3. He shot 6, made 3. It's pretty good. But he also shot 33% overall from the field, which is less good. I am gonna check this because I want to see the totals. I don't think he made a non-3 in the preseason from what I'm seeing. Yeah, he shot 0 for 3 on non-3s in the preseason. Not great. Just kind of looked all over the place. He wasn't, solid on defense. He was like almost getting in Missoula's bad graces a couple times there where he like got yanked or he got, Missoula got mad at him for stuff. It just looked like he was a little bit frantic at all times on the floor, a little bit loose with the ball, a little bit all over the place on defense. He had 7 fouls, which was the most of like the non, top guys group. Not great. It just wasn't what you wanted to see from a guy who we were talking about as, maybe he could find a little spot in the rotation this year.
It's my fault.
And now it seems like he might be on the outside looking in.
I should write like a 1,000-word apology. Just like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get everyone's hopes up. Might have put too much pressure on him. Yeah, it wasn't the 5-game slate or 3 games that he got to play in for Springer that I was hoping for, but I don't know, man. Maybe he'll get lucky and get in there and play some good defense or something. I don't know. This was not at all what I would have expected from him. It sucks. I don't have any defense other than he made the shots, which was the thing that we were like, if he makes his shots, watch out. And he actually did. And somehow he fucked it up. He did the thing I was like, if he does this, watch out. And I was right, but watch out in the opposite way that I was hoping.
Yeah, definitely not ideal, but it is what it is.
Fuck.
It's tough.
Oh man. I really don't think we can put Lonnie Walker as a loser because you have like a contingent of the fan base that is like, you cannot not sign him. So I'll stay away from that.
You can.
To me, I think Nemi might have been a little bit of a loser here. Not
Yeah.
like overwhelmingly, but of the big guys, he was the only one that I didn't feel like we saw anything new from or improvement from, at least significant enough to catch our eyes. So he is the clear number 3 off the bench in terms of the centers, which kind of sucks for him. I'm sure he's going to spend some more time in Maine. I think we all had high hopes for Nemi, much like I did for Springer. We thought he might take a step up this summer, and he didn't, at least not yet. Does that mean I think he's not going to get into games this year? No, I think there's going to be times where he plays, much like last year when the team was plenty deep and he was still getting in there and playing a significant amount of time. I think he has value in terms of his size, his rebounding ability. He does a good job. He still grabbed 5.8 a game, which was just at a glance the second most behind Tatum. Not bad. Partially because he misses all the shots at the rim and he just gets his own rebounds. That is part of it. It is part of it. Only 58%, 59% from the field as a 7-foot guy that only takes like layups and dunks. Not the greatest. I've seen better finishers around the rim than Nemi. 90% from the free throw line is not to be sneezed at, but yeah, he didn't quite make the impact we had all hoped.
Yeah. Not as good as you'd want to see. Yeah, actually a larger attempt than I thought. 9 of 10 for the free throw line is pretty good for Nemi, but the foul trouble was like came and went. He had some games where it wasn't there. He had some games where it was there. The defensive positioning was still like a little all over the place. And like I mentioned after the Raptors game, it's not necessarily his fault, but the spacing with him on the floor just isn't as good as Tillman or even Cornette, because Cornette finds these pockets that Nemi is just not adept at finding quite yet. So I'm going to go in an awkward direction because I don't think a lot of us thought that this person had a real shot of doing anything impactful anyways. Dmitry Skapantsev just looked really bad.
He had that big block. You should be an ally to him. You both can run with the goggles.
He fun fact, I bought
he didn't
goggles.
Do anything to you.
Don't know where they are. I bought goggles to play basketball. I lost them before I wore them one time. Don't know where they are. I lost them in the move. Skapantsev got one game where he got extended run, and it was against the Raptors in the second home and the TD Garden game against the Raptors. Just looked completely out of place. Like he was too slow for the NBA game. He wasn't a very good finisher around the rim. You're talking about worse finishers than Nemi around the rim. Might have found one. Not a good rebounder for his size. He's 7'1". He kind of looked like he didn't belong at the level, and maybe you together league, but it was again. I, at least, maybe some other people did, I didn't think he would make a huge impact regardless, but you wanted to see at least a little more for a guy who will probably get some run in Maine this year.
I thought he was going to make the team.
But you know what I'm saying? It was disappointing. And the fact that he was disappointing to me with such little expectations, probably not great.
He did have that sick block against Philly. He erased somebody's shot, and I'll forever remember that. It'll be a salute moment whenever we do the trivia, and his name is somehow on the list of guys. But yeah, I mean, I don't think any of us had major expectations for him. You can say the same for him as Nemi, where he only shot 60% from the field on layups and dunks. Really didn't do a whole lot. Little credit to him. I think his jump shot looks good. Jack and I got to watch him warm up a little bit before Raptors Celtics at the Garden on Sunday. He was shooting corner threes. It looked all right. But yeah, I mean, he's going to play in Maine. That's why they brought him in. It was always that from the beginning when we did the breakdown that got a bunch of views. That was what we said. He's going to join the Maine Celtics in their Eastern Conference title defense. So maybe he'll ball out up there. I know the Knicks fans were kind of bummed when that move happened. So maybe he'll give them something. I'll move on. The last loser of the preseason is Tristan Enaruna, who started the preseason on the team and ended the preseason not on the team. I think that's a pretty good one.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's a good choice. He's just not here anymore.
Sleeper pick.
You said you wouldn't do it, but I'm gonna put Lonnie Walker on the losers list. Not necessarily for how he played, because I thought he was okay, just because he's just not going to make the team. Like, I just still don't believe he's going to make the roster. Like, we're going to have an answer in the next 6 days when the Celtics have to cut down. I think Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern time is the deadline to trim your roster down for the regular season. So we'll know by then. I know a lot of fans are still hoping that he'll make the team. I just don't think it makes that much sense. I still don't think he is a great fit with the Celtics roster, as much as people might not like to hear that. And the fact that he's going to cost $11 million for a 15th man who's just not going to play in the rotation. Like we're talking about a marginal upgrade over Shireman and Springer at this point. He's definitely more NBA ready than those guys, but he's not going to play over Pritchard. He's not going to play over Hauser. If I'm the Celtics, I'd rather give Walsh minutes, not because he's better, but just to develop him a little bit. It just doesn't make that much sense to me. So it's not his fault. Like I don't think he's a loser in terms of how he played. I just don't think he's going to make the roster.
Let me ask you something. Two things. I'm not convinced he's a loser entirely. He might be a Celtics loser, but he may have ended up earning himself a deal somewhere else. Maybe somebody else would come get him. That's a moot point. I do wonder why the Celtics went and got him. Do you think they were just like ready to roll the dice and be like, well, what if we find something?
That, and I saw somebody on Twitter, maybe it was in the group chat or something. It was like speculating, like, get him in, let him learn about a winning culture, let him be around guys who have done it at the highest level, learn from Derek White, his friend, learn from Drew Holiday, learn from Joe Mazzulla for like a training camp, let him develop some habits, and then at worst, get a contract elsewhere, maybe spend some time in Maine. At best, like you said, he fits in so perfectly, they're willing to spend the extra money in. I don't think that second part happened, but he learned from Drew Holiday. He got to guard some of these guys. He got to play with some of these guys, learn some habits, learn from Joe. Maybe he'll play in Maine. Maybe he'll learn a contract elsewhere. But from the Celtics perspective, like, why not? Right? Like, what do you lose from signing him to an Exhibit 10 that you're going to fill out anyways? So, So I think all the people saying, well, why'd they sign him if they're not going to sign him? Just because why not? Like, there's no.
I mean, that was me. I was like, oh, they're going to trade for him. And then they brought him in for this. Like, it just feels like there's too much connection, which I could still end up being right. We still have a couple days to find out what's going to happen with the roster. Mm-hmm. Not that I really care. I don't think it moves the needle. I think it doesn't hurt to have him. Like, I don't care. What do I care? It's not my money.
Yeah.
No, it's not. I'm not even paying for tickets anymore.
I know. All right. I think that finishes up winners and losers.
Segment.
Let us know what you guys think. Let us know your winners and losers down below. Basketball season is back, and I could not be more excited. Getting to watch my favorite team live in person is my favorite time of the year, and I get all of my tickets on Game Time. Game Time is the perfect app to use for all of your ticketing needs. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. It brings the best prices, the best deals for you to go watch live basketball right to the front. But it's more than basketball season. The Patriots are back, and the Chargers are coming to town very, very soon, and it looks like you can get a great deal to that game. Justin Herbert going to come to Gillette Stadium to hopefully play Drake May. He did get the start recently, so that should be a very, very fun quarterback matchup as well. My favorite part of the app is the fact that you can filter out the fees, you can look at the best deals, and it highlights what it believes are going to be the best deals for you to get the exact type of ticket you want. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, everything you want. I saw Noah Khan over the summer. I use Game Time to get my tickets. All-in pricing is another part that I absolutely love about the app. Toggling the feature shows the exact total upfront. Like I said, filters out the fees, tells you what you're paying with everything included. It is perfect. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Let's go to the email here. Reminder, as always, you guys can email us at hbtcpod@gmail.com. That's hbtcpod@gmail.com. We have one email today from Mr. RJ Johnson. RJ says, growing the next generation. Morning, folks. Rather than trying to do a deep dive on who gets whose minutes, another question to consider is who benefits more from coming off the bench in Boston versus logging playing time in Portland, Maine. Because in addition to winning the season, the C's also need to look at how they get the most out of their guys they have under contract for the future. I'm looking specifically at J.D. Davis and Drew Peterson, Baylor Shireman, Jaden Springer, Jordan Walsh, and Anton Watson. Which guys gain more in which setting? Do some of them split their time? I'm leaving out Kade because he will be in Boston for the duration of KP's rehab. I post all my thoughts here at Celtics Blog. Be well, RJ, a longtime fan of getting guys, of the guys bringing up the rear. I think there are... I don't think Jaden Springer will play a lot in Maine just because he didn't play last year, and I don't think they'll just send him back down there. I think there are 4 guys that I think will play a lot in Maine just because he didn't play last year, and I don't think they'll just send him back down there. I think there are 4 guys that I think will play a lot in Maine just because he didn't play last year, and I don't think they'll just send him back down there. If I had to pick two, I think Walsh and Peterson would gain the most from playing at the NBA level. Maybe JD Davison too, but I just think his path is harder to playing there. I don't think Peterson will play much with the big team. I do think Jordan Walsh could, and I think Baylor Shireman, Anton Watson, and would benefit the most from me just because of the rookies. JD Davison and Jaden Springer are weird. I think both could benefit for some minutes with the big league Celtics. I just don't think either of them will get as many of those opportunities as they should maybe want.
Yeah, I think the rookies will definitely benefit because they're not going to get any burn in Boston, and I think there's just not going to be as much room for error as rookies need to get better. I think we kind of felt that with Shireman in the preseason, to be honest, because he struggled and he looked like he was uncomfortable and wasn't necessarily ready to just be a catch and shoot guy. Like, I don't know, it was definitely a weird fit for him, and I get it. I think Springer might benefit. I mean, I don't know about him anymore. I want him to be good. I think he has like the game of a player that can stick around in the league long enough. It doesn't seem like he's somebody that has the mentality of like he has to be the guy. He seems like he can fit into one of those rotation role player spots. It's just he didn't show that in the preseason. Maybe being in Maine would help him do that, but if he's in Maine, he's going to be the guy like he was in the summer league. So I don't really know about that with him. And I agree with you, Jack. I think the other two wings would do great just by playing in the NBA. I think the next step for them is really going to be defending at the NBA level, making sure they can stay with some of these more skilled players, strong players, rather than the guys in the G League. That's probably the next step for both of them.
For sure. That was her only email. Before we move on, have you seen those Hoops Hype like global ratings where they like rate players based on how well they've played?
Are you going to talk about the Pritchard one?
I am going to talk about. He's number one in the preseason, man. That's
MVP.
sick. That is very cool. He's the best.
Yeah, right behind him are Pistons, two of them, Jaden Ivey and Cade.
I will say the fact that Tatum is up here in so few minutes is kind of fun to see as well.
Dame right behind him.
Yep, him, Dame. Jalen Brunson's up there too. Also wanted to say I saw some like stuff going around on Twitter about like, oh, pick your favorite Celtics podcast. Saw our name. Thank you. Just wanted to say
yes, we actually got a fair. I think it felt like we were third behind First the Floor and Locked On. Not bad.
I'll take third place. I'll take a bronze. We're on the podium.
We are on the. We're the guy cracking the champagne when he's on the.
Hell yeah, we are.
Spot. Yeah, that's not bad. Thank you guys. As always, tell your friends. If you think we're funny or you like listening to us, tell your friends. It's one of the best things you can do for us.
Anyways, let's go to the NBA section here. ESPN and The Ringer both put out their rankings. And so we don't have to like look at every single ranking, but I figure we can look at them and compare. I looked briefly at them before we jumped on here. I will say The Ringer looks just significantly better than ESPN. ESPN's isn't out fully yet because it's like 50 through 100, whatever. But just some of the ones you see here are like, oh, that's what we're doing here. So this is what is up so far. They have everything but the top 10 for the ESPN. And your Piston is the new Derek White because they ranked Cade Cunningham the 67th best player in the league. For context, Draymond, Malik Monk, Emmanuel Quickley, and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope are both like immediately above him. Seems kind of disrespectful to Mr. Cunningham. That seems kind of whack.
It definitely is. Like I thought Cade was pretty good last year, despite the team being hot ass. He played an entire season with no spacing. Nobody could shoot the three worth a damn. Tim Hardaway Jr. joined the team this summer. He made more threes last season, I think, than the entire Pistons team did. So take that for what it's worth. Like they might be better this year. Like should I bet the Pistons win total live on the show if it even lets me in this state?
Oh God. I don't know about that. Somebody on Twitter made a good point. I forget who it was, so apologies. But they were like, ESPN's problem is they rank role players higher than like number one options on bad teams. Like for as much as you can hate on a Cade Cunningham, a Zach LaVine, a Chris Middleton, they're just all better than Kentavious Caldwell-Pope because Kentavious Caldwell-Pope couldn't do what they do. And they're, you know what I'm saying? Like there is just some nuance to it that I feel like ESPN misses. Also, I saw this just because like it was like in their promo video, Jaren Jackson being at 55th. And OG Anunoby being higher than him, RJ Barrett being higher than him. Who else? Aaron Gordon higher than him. It just feels a little bit disrespectful to a guy who was literally the defensive player of the year 2 years ago. Like he is, just because the Grizzlies were bad last year does not mean he is a bad player. That just means they had a bad season. So I think that's a bit whack. He is so fucking low on this list. Anything else
Grizzlies are gonna be
egregious?
all the way back.
I agree. KP at 46 is maybe a little low. I'm not going to complain too much because he's always hurt. Derek White at 39, Drew Holiday at 36, Scotty at 34. I'm just trying to see if there's anybody a bit too high. I don't think there's anything too egregious in these. Dame at 23 is a bit too high. Having Dame above Paolo,
Jimmy.
Kyrie, Fox, and Jimmy and Sabonis is crazy to me. That seems a bit ridiculous. Paul George at 21 is fine. I like Bam at 18. JB's 14. Jason Tatum hasn't been announced yet. The Ringer, we can just go because they have starting from 1. They have Jokic, Luka, Giannis, Shea, Embiid, Tatum. I obviously think Tatum should be higher. I've been on here saying I think he's 3. If he is, I think this is the correct top 6, though. I think if a site has this is the top 6 and Jokic is 1, I'm not going to complain too much. That said, I still don't understand what Shea has done to be above Embiid and Tatum. I get it, but like he's a really good scorer.
What is the first
defender? I don't
sentence of Tatum's?
Reigning champion in his prime.
Compared to like all the other ones, it's fucking crazy.
I know.
Historically dominant scorer, MVP candidate to the highest order, God tier playmaker, the league's preeminent two-way player. Not that any of these are incorrect, but I feel like there is just more to say about Tatum than that.
And for what it's worth, they also just said, yeah, but he also sucked in the Olympics. So
he did suck in the Olympics. Guys, it's fair.
It's just
so did Embiid.
I think it's like, yeah. I don't know. It is what it is. I think it should be higher. Again, though, I think this is the top 6, and I think that is what the top 6 should be. So I'm not going to complain too much. They got JB at 14. I don't think Devin Booker should be above him. I think everybody else should be fine.
And appropriate or inappropriate?
I think Jalen Brunson is better than him. I think everything. I think 12 is fine though. I think Jalen Brunson is too low. I would put Jalen Brunson at 10, move LeBron up to 9, and bump 80 down to 11.
It's kind of funny that the Lakers have like 2 fringe top 10 guys, but I still don't really like. I feel like a lot of people don't take them serious for good reason.
It's because they don't have another player on this list to like 70. I don't know who the next player. It would probably be Austin Reeves, and
Marcus Cousins had a great quote. He was like, "I just don't know how serious that the Lakers can be if they drafted Bronny."
It's tough. I love Jalen. You could probably make an argument Wemby should be like 13 on this list.
Right.
It is what it is. I'm not going to complain. I think Donovan Mitchell's fine. Halliburton's fine. I think Sabonis is criminally underrated on every list. I know you're not a Sabonis guy.
I think this is fair.
I think he should be higher than Ja, Paul George, De'Aaron Fox, Zion. I think he should be 20. I think he can probably be one below
he is.
I think they're pretty close to the same level. I would probably put him like 1 behind Bam, but I would flip-flop back and forth. The rest is fine. I'm trying to see if there's anybody egregiously. I think this is a lot more fair for Dame, 27. Maxey at 28 is fine. Derek White and Drew Holiday are 37 and 38 respectively. KP's at 42. I think the Ringer made a really good list. I think this is pretty fair. I think Jaren should probably still be a little bit higher, but I don't think any of the people above him are egregious.
I think the way the Ringer looks is just so cool. All these
I love it.
Look so fun to look at.
I love the Ringer. The Ringer does stuff real well. I'm trying to see if there's anybody who's egregiously high or low. Oh, Herb Jones is 62 on the Ringer, 97 on ESPN. He was like a top 5.
Pretty low.
Yeah, this could be a big season for his stock. Who would you put him above though? I don't think that's his fault. I think Franz is better. I think Jarrett's better.
Probably better than
Draymond. Maybe Draymond's probably a little too high.
He's better than Draymond. He's better than DeRozan. Better than Ingram.
Maybe.
Ingram stinks. They don't even want him. Nobody wants to even trade for Ingram.
You're right.
I think he's going to have a good season this year. He's in a great position to do so.
Fred VanVleet's first sentence, Houston's nose nonsense primary caregiver, is very funny.
Great team dad.
I do think he is underrated, but that is just a funny sentence. Bradley Beal's fine. I'm trying to see. I think these are all pretty fair. I think Middleton might be a little too low on this list. I know he is older, but I still think he's a talented player. The injury concerns are there, yes, but I still think he should be a bit higher on the list. Same thing with Devin Vassell. Miles Turner maybe deserves to be a little higher. I think all of this is pretty fair, though. I'm not going to complain too much about everything else on this list. I'd say Hartenstein should be higher on this list, though. 88's way too low for Hartenstein. I think he's a better player than that. But I think it's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. I think it's good. Shout out the Ringer. Next NBA thing we got is the Pistons. They've implemented a weird rule. Sam, would you like to break it down?
JB Biggerstaff has had enough of the losing culture in Detroit. He has made a change. He's reinventing things there. No hoodies at practice. Can't have the hood up. Biggerstaff talked to The Athletic. Joe Varden did a write-up on the Pistons. I'm telling you right now, I think they're going to be better than people think this year. I've said it every year. I'm always wrong. The flag is planted once again. But Biggerstaff talked about this a little bit. He said just the last shred of that old school mentality, just growing up with my dad, who was a longtime NBA coach. You don't wear anything on your head during the game. You don't wear jewelry. You practice how you play. He's trying to set his guys up to play for real. It's a young team. Like, I do kind of get it. You want to get them mentally locked in. They've been kind of just exposed to bad culture over the last several years. Like, they just show up, they lose. There's not a lot of buzz around the team. These guys come into the league and it's just, there's no order. I mean, that last year with Monty Williams was a disaster. He doesn't know if he wants to play Jaden Ivey or not. Cade kind of talked about it, and he talked about it being like school. He said, in school classrooms, a lot of times teachers say, take your hood off. So it's all the same thing. It's just about being professional and being ready to play. I think they are a team that can compete if they lock in the right way. They have quality young players. They have more spacing now. They brought in Tim Hardaway Jr. They brought in and kept Fontecchio, who shot threes well for them last year. They have added more shooting, which was their biggest problem. They couldn't make any threes to space the floor.
What do you define as improvement for the Pistons?
I think they should be teasing the play-in. I think they should be sniffing around there.
What do you define as sniffing?
I think they could finish anywhere from like 8 to 11.
8
is high, but you never know.
Celtics, Sixers,
Sixers, Knicks, Bucks, Pacers,
Magic,
Heat.
So that's 7.
The Cavs should be there, but you don't know. They get a weird chemistry about them.
No.
Cavs.
No,
listen. Over the summer, Donovan Mitchell re-signs. There was a lot of buzz that he wanted them to split him and Darius Garland up. We'll have to see how that all plays out this year.
You cannot make an argument to me that the Pistons are going to be better than the Cavaliers.
There are times where teams just fall flat. I'm not saying that I would put money that they're going to be better than the Cavs, but I think that they could be in that play-in range. I truly do.
Maybe they can sniff 10. We'll do our standings predictions probably next podcast because we haven't yet. If I had to guess based on what I see, just without going over every team, I would probably peg the Pistons at 12 or 13.
So who are your worst teams? Chicago?
No, Brooklyn, Washington. I think Chicago will be in
Chicago because they're actually going to be trying to win. The Pistons aren't going to be trying to tank this year. I mean, they get Cooper Flag, but
I think Detroit, Chicago, Charlotte, Toronto are all going to be in that same.
Toronto's going to be awful.
I think that's going to be the same group. I think Toronto has a better roster than the Pistons.
I just think the Pistons have more reason to try and win. It's not so much about the roster; it's about the motivations within the team too.
Front offices tank, players don't tank. Like the players on the rosters, they're still going to actively try to win the games. You heard
they're going to try, but they might be restricted. They might. This guy is going to sit.
I am saying, I think the Raptors roster is better than the Pistons, and I don't think it's like it's inches. No, I just think they have objectively better roster.
We'll
And
see.
I think the Hornets are also going to be better than the Pistons.
The Hornets are another team. I think they're like in that range where it's time to show me something. Like if you're the organization, you're like, I don't want to keep fucking tanking. I want to see if we can do something.
And I don't think the Bulls are. I don't think they should be good. I think they'll be better than a lot of people are expecting them to be, to their own deficiency. Like
We're gonna see Lonzo tonight.
I think Kobe White's going to be a really good player. I think Ayo Dosunmu is going to be a really good player. I think Modest Buzelis is going to play pretty well for his rookie season. I think Zach LaVine will probably be better than people think. That doesn't mean I think he'll be.
He's not going to be on the team.
Yes, he will.
They're going to try and trade him as soon as someone will actually take him.
See, the key word there was try. I don't think anybody's going to take his contract.
Okay, Jack. So he either plays well and they can actually trade him, or he sucks and then they can't trade him. There's no realistic world where Zach LaVine plays well and he stays on the Bulls.
Yes, there is, because I don't think people are going to want his contract regardless if he plays well or not. Like, I'm not saying he's going to average 50, 40, 90, 25 points a night, but I think he could give you like 20 on relatively good efficiency, but that's not worth $40 million. I'm not saying the Bulls are going to be a world beater. I'm just saying they're probably going to be close to the same level as the Pistons this year. I don't think that's a crazy thing.
They may be the same. I just think the front office's motivations do matter in this.
Sure.
There's a reason why they brought in a new coach. They want Bickerstaff means business. Like, they're obviously trying to fucking compete.
I'm not saying the Pistons are going to be dog shit. I just don't think they are that good. I just don't think the roster is that good yet.
I don't think they're great. Like, I'm not saying that. I just think this is a year where they should take a step up.
They should. I don't know.
They should have taken a step up.
We'll see. They should have taken a step up the last 3 years. We'll see. Next thing, Paul George got hurt in the preseason. He hyperextended his knee. It looked a lot worse than it was on the court.
Picture was going around. People were making fun of him.
They were. It does look like he reportedly just has a bone bruise. However, he will be back around a week or so. They're going to reevaluate. So it does sound like he'll be fine for the season. Like, it's just a minor thing.
Yeah, he's not like substantially injured at this point in time, but this does not bode well for those that are like, watch out for Philadelphia this year, because Philadelphia, whose Achilles heel has literally always been the Achilles heel, getting injured. Embiid is never 100% in the playoffs. There's always the excuse that he wasn't healthy and something was bothering him. That's why the numbers aren't great. So what do? They go out and get a guy that's been in and out of the lineups for the last couple seasons, and he's already been injured. Sure, could they be healthy? Wouldn't be the most like egregious thing to think, but at the same time, we're not even at opening night and they already have one of their main 3 guys hurting himself. Mind you, a freak thing, but nonetheless, having to be reevaluated in a week means he may miss opening night. Muted.
My mic came unplugged there for a second there. Not ideal for the Sixers for sure. I think he'll be fine. It's just when you're already starting with the Knicks before the season starts, it is not ideal.
The gun has gone off and you have slipped at the starting line, buddy.
I wasn't sure where you're going with the gun, but I'm glad it went there. Next thing, Bam Adebayo talked about DPOY voting. I don't know if this was an interview or like a post game or a media session.
It was an interview.
He said, for me, it's getting stops. Who can guard the yard? That's 1 through 5. That's in the zone. That's whatever coverage your coach puts you in. You can excel in that coverage. To me, that's the DPOY, but the media has different opinions. They look at steals and blocks. I agree to an extent. I do think
it's not a bad
take. But yeah. You wrote here, stop crying every year. I'm going to defend Bam because I bet you $1 million he is asked the same question about it every single year. And what was he going to do? Like, he's going to say, obviously he cares because he would like to win the award. So he's going to say something. But yeah,
I just feel like we hear this all the time. And it's like, nobody wants me to win the award. And I defend all the positions. And it's very true. Marcus won the award and he defended all the positions. Like, that's what Marcus does. That's why he was so heralded. That's why all of us loved him so much, is because you could switch him onto a big guy and he was going to give you everything. A post-up mismatch against Marcus was not a mismatch. It wasn't. And I think that's something that the media does value. So him being like the media doesn't value 1 through 5. It's like, no, they gave it to the first guard since 1996, 2 years
Well,
ago, over you because they do value that.
I think it's true to an extent. I'm very glad that Marcus won the award, and I think he deserved it. I do think a big part of why he won the award is because he received probably the biggest push for the award I've ever seen in my entire life. Like there was a national campaign for Marcus Smart to win the Defensive Player of the Year, and again, he deserved it, and I'm glad he got it. But no one's doing that for Bam Adebayo. Like that's not a thing. And for what it's worth, outside of that, it has been about who blocks the most shots, who is in the paint the most guarding the rim, and that's Rudy Gobert, or that's whoever is in the paint. Like, so I do understand it from his perspective. I think Bam not having a DPOY yet, Anthony Davis not having a DPOY yet is the same as Eric Spoelstra not having a Coach of the Year award yet.
They're never going to have one.
Exactly.
Wemby's
it
here.
is. They are consistently one of the top 3 guys in that realm, but they just haven't been able to do it. And like you said, now that Wemby's there, he's probably going to win every defensive player of the
Wemby
year
was in the
award.
race last year. People were talking
He was
about maybe
second.
he's the defensive player of the year.
He was second. He's going to win it every year for the next decade. Be
It's
ready.
a real shame. These poor guys will just never get their DPOY. I saw Greeny tweet about this today, and it was one of the reasons I wanted to get it in the show. It's just like the crying is at like the Embiid MVP level of crying. Like, oh, I do all this stuff. And like, listen, I think Bam is a little bit of a different case than Embiid just because Bam actually wins big games. Embiid doesn't. Like he's a legitimate force, and he's had great playoff success and been a part of key teams. But yeah, Wemby's here, so sorry, brother.
Yeah, Wemby is Wemby's gonna take that. Speaking of Wemby, he has already started talking shit a little bit. I don't know what interview this was in. I saw it on Twitter as well, though.
Sports Illustrated had to sit down with him.
Sports Illustrated. He said, some of the guys I've been watching growing up, and I'm not disappointed, but I'm like, ugh, that's it. Some of them, like KD, I've got to know Rudy Gobert with the national team. I know their work ethic, how they view the game. It's really inspiring, and I want to be the same. And then he talked about and then there's some other guys who just don't take it as seriously as I thought, and that's disappointing to me. Basically saying, like, yeah, some of these guys don't give a shit, and that sucks. Fucking bums. That dude. Wemby is going to be so unbelievably good. It's terrifying. Like, he is
so happy he's in the other conference.
Fuck
I mean,
yes.
he took a mid-season leap last year.
Yep.
I don't know when the last time we've seen a significant in-season leap like that, where you felt like he figured something out in the middle of the season. He's carried it over into the Olympics. Guys were playing completely different basketball when Wemby was on the floor when they had to play France. They can't go in the paint just because he's there. They're afraid, even if he's on the opposite end of the floor, like, watch out. I don't know how great the Spurs can be this year just because the rest of their roster isn't quite good enough. But he is a game changer just by being on the floor. He's the kind of guy that could be hurt and play, and teams would be terrified, and like they still would probably not play as well against the Spurs just because he's standing out there. That's how good he can be on defense.
Yes, 100%. Dude, I saw like ESPN's like little blurb when they were writing about the rankings, and it was like probably gonna take another leap, might be in the MVP conversation. I'm sitting here like, yeah, probably.
I mean, if the Spurs overachieve enough, it's gonna happen.
Their blurb said he has a real run at surpassing the 254 blocks he had in his rookie season. He had 254 blocks in his rookie season. I'm going to do some live research here. What is the most blocks in a single season in NBA history? It's definitely more than that, but most blocks.
I mean, there's got to be one of those dudes that average like 4 blocks. Mark Eaton probably
I think it's Mark Eaton.
the most.
Yeah, he had 456 blocks. Most blocks in a single season since 2000. Just pick an arbitrary number here. Since 2000. He is 8th. He is 8th in the last 24 years in his rookie season.
Who's number 1?
And Theo Ratliff.
Former Celtic.
03-04 season. The only player since 2010 to have more than him in a single season is Hassan Whiteside, who had 269.
This is sounding like a club you might not want to be in, actually.
Well, there's also Ben Wallace, DPOY, Marcus Camby, DPOY, Dikembe Mutombo, Alonzo Mourning. So not a bad club. I'd say it's a pretty good club. Also directly below him are Serge Ibaka, Shaquille, and also Wemanyama played fewer than 30 minutes a game. Actually, so did Hassan Whiteside. So my goat. Never mind. My bad. But now Wemby's different, man. he's gonna be real good. Anyways, Ratless Sam, what do you have for me?
Ratless is the green line. I don't know if you saw this, Jack. Did you see this? You know what I'm
No,
gonna say?
but I will agree.
So Jack consistently complains about the green line, the service not being good, sometimes running late, sometimes
Red
too
line's
busy.
worse, but
Okay.
green line bad.
So it seems that the green line may have actually tried to amend this, do something to fix always being late and try and get somewhere on time, to get somewhere in a timely manner. It appears that today, one of the green line trains, not today, rather, a couple weeks ago, October 1st, was traveling 25 miles per hour over the speed limit and derailed.
Do you know which line? Does it say on there?
Here's what the article says from Boston 25 News. Who wrote this? Was anybody I know? No. The Green Line train that came off the tracks and injured 7 people early this month was traveling 25 miles per hour over the speed limit prior to the derailment. Green Line train 3874-3718 was carrying around 50 passengers and 2 MBTA crew members when it departed Leechmere Station around 4:46 on October 1st. It was driving 36 miles per hour and entered a 10-mile-per-hour zone, passed through a double red signal, which requires a stop, and reached a switch that was still moving to direct the train into the diverging track. 7 riders were hospitalized with non-life-threatening injuries following the derailment, and about 50 riders self-evacuated on the tracks and traveled to an emergency exit location. Damages in the estimates that will cost to repair them are still being calculated.
What was the station called?
Leechmere.
Leechmere, yes. Okay, that's in Cambridge. Okay, that's far from me. Man, the Green Line, man. What an experience.
Can you imagine you're trying to get there on opening night and your fucking train derails?
I'd be pretty upset. Honestly,
Stadium
get a nice little settlement. Get a nice little money.
That would be all right. You get
give it
a couple of weeks off of work.
Hook me up.
Milk it.
I will anti-rat list my barber today, or hairdresser, whatever you want to call it. I went to Supercuts, walked over there, got a nice little haircut. It was about time, but the stress of having to find a new place to get your haircut, because I go to the same guy in my town every time. And so I'm sitting there like, I don't know what to do. And then I remembered, shout out Matt, the guy who cuts my hair in Easton when I'm home. He gave me this, and he wrote down, let me see if I can find it, exactly what he does to cut my hair on a little card. So I get there, and the lady goes, "Oh, how do you get your hair cut?" I go, "Actually, I don't know, but my barber does." And she goes, "I don't think you understand how helpful this is. Cut it exactly how I like it." And I'm just couldn't be more pleased. It was phenomenal. It was a great experience. Shout out Supercuts. They get it done. I was very happy.
See if Supercuts will sponsor the show. I know they do sponsor podcasts.
Supercuts hooks me up, bro.
Anybody that would sponsor the show, email is on the screen. Rat list is Twitter. I've paid for Twitter. I've officially caved. I'll be doing more work this year on Twitter, so I just figured I might as well pay for it. Plus, our streams no longer go to your Twitter unless you pay for it, so I would like my Twitter to be involved in the streams. They did tell me it was on sale today. I saved 40% on my yearly subscription.
So what?
$1.50
Oh, month, yearly.
Yeah, yearly.
Okay.
It's not bad. It's like $34 or something like that on what I would have paid. I'm not too upset about it. It's not the worst purchase.
No,
I hope it's
not bad at all.
Is beneficial to me.
It should be. I think it's worth it. You can edit tweets, can stream it and stuff. I recently got monetized on Twitter, so I can make money now, which is nice. I'm very excited.
There you go.
Probably make that $3 check every 2 weeks to get a hit.
Yeah, but you get it you get your thing for free.
What thing?
Pretty much, you get your subscription for free.
Oh, true. Yeah, I guess if you think about it that way. What else do I want to rat list? I haven't done much. I'm trying to think. Like I live boring life, everybody. I don't do much anymore. So there's not much for me to rat list. I went to a grocery store. Rat list. Oh, this is like the most trivial, useless rat list, but it's funny, so I'll do it. So I go to the grocery store, right, and I'm buying broccoli. Okay,
Good for
I
you.
bought a big thing, and I didn't want to buy like the packages because I thought they were more expensive. So I bought this big head of broccoli. Let's just cut it up, whatever. Buy it, go to there. I do self checkout, obviously, put it on the scale, do my thing. And I'm like, oh, that's more expensive than I thought it was on the thing. I must have clicked the wrong thing. Press the button. I'm like, all right, let me try again, redo. Customer service is needed. I'm like, fuck. And so the lady has to come over, fix my shit. I clicked the different one and it's more expensive. But I'm like, I'm not going to call the lady over again. I'm going to spend an extra $3 because I don't want to have her come over here and realize that I messed up a second time. So I just paid $3 extra because I think I clicked fucking like organic broccoli or something stupid. I'm like, God damn it. Like, again, it's like the most trivial thing, but I'm just sitting there like, I'm not going to have the lady come over here and think I'm a fucking moron a second time. So I'm just going to let it be. It is what it is.
Self-checkout is truly a crazy concept. It's a very convenient concept, and I think we all like it and prefer it. Everyone would prefer to go to the self-checkout. Bill Burr has such a great joke about it. He's like, I didn't know I was working tonight. I forgot my apron. Fuck. I didn't know I was on the schedule. Rat list, maybe one of the most consistent rat lists of all time. One of the all-time goats of the rat list is this fucking stupid bridge in Providence. The Washington Bridge remains a problem. Now, I tweeted about this week. I was very upset when I saw the news update on this bridge's progress. The Boston Globe put out an article on it. Washington Bridge replacement faces another delay as Rhode Island launches a new search for contractors. Article reads, after failing to get any bidders the first time around, Rhode Island transportation officials are once again looking for contractors to build a brand new Washington Bridge on I-195 West. So, first and foremost, what you can take away from this thing is that all of the difficult trials that I have gone through in the past year driving through Providence, consistently having to sit in traffic on 95 North as I head towards the bridge, are not going anywhere. The new two-part procurement process, trying to really get me to sound like a moron, getting tongue twisted on that, announced Tuesday, includes a new window into the time frame of constructing a new bridge, a significant departure from the original plans. A tentative contract is not slated to be awarded until June 2025. They are not going to even start working on fixing this until June. They're not even going to pick anybody to work on it. The new bridge construction will begin in December of 2025. If you live in Rhode Island, get ready to sit in traffic, buddy. I complain about this. I can't imagine if I lived on the East Bay of Rhode Island. If you are not familiar with Rhode Island, there is a big fat bay right in the middle of our state. It's awesome. Pretty much anywhere you are, you're going to be near the water if that's your thing. The problem with it is we only have two ways to get across. There is the Washington Bridge, and then there are the Jamestown and Newport bridges, which are happily working fine. The Washington Bridge, if you live in the northern part of the state or you need to go into Providence, is really the best way for you to go. So when it's fucked up like it is, you're going to be in hours of traffic, especially if you're coming that way. I know when it first happened, it was awful. The solution, I think we should just have like 3 or 4 more bridges. Like if there was
I feel like it's so easy. I just add more bridges.
I mean, I can go to Bristol, which is across the bay from where I live in Warwick. And we went to the state park over there. You can literally see Rocky Point, which is like 5 minutes from my house. Like you can see it clearly across the bay. Just build a fucking bridge. It would be excellent. It would be good for all the businesses. You would have so much more just traffic coming through cities, and like people would be able to get places so much easier. I don't know why we don't have it.
Yeah, I feel like that's a pretty obvious solution to the issue, but maybe that's just me. Hey, what do I know? Right?
I got to shout out this place in Providence. They had like this market over the weekend where like, you know what I'm talking about. Like it's like a street market and like all these different businesses have little stands or whatever. I don't remember what the name of the place was. I apologize, but they had all of these different Rhode Island themed shirts. And one of them was like a horror movie poster. And it was just like the Department of Transportation is a beast. And, like people sitting in traffic and stuff. So shout out to them. I didn't buy it. The shirt was black. I can't wear black shirts because I'll get pet hair all over them. I don't want to deal with it.
That'll do it. That'll do it. That anti-ralist about not living at home anymore. Can just do whatever I want with my food. Do whatever I want with.
You can wear black.
Fire.
Slimming.
It's great. Well, maybe for you. That's
slimming for everybody.
I don't think I have anything else. I think that's about it for me. I'm chilling.
All right.
In that case, appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to How About Them Celtics on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. Leave us a rating on Apple again. I'll say it because we haven't gotten one in a while, so I'll say put it out there. But I'll let Sam take it out.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening and watching. Like Jack said, we are everywhere. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you hit the bell when you do so because we are dropping new content every morning. You don't want to miss it. Full pods Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, game recaps the morning after each game, and other videos are going up in the channel to keep you busy as you wait for the regular season to start, and also every day. Like, we are here no matter what. You can also find all of our streams here. We're doing pregame streams a half hour before each game. They're a ton of fun. Make sure you show up for them. Talking Seas is going to be coming back soon. We actually need to discuss that, which we'll get done. And hit the bell. You can find us on Spotify and Apple too. All pods and recaps are up there for you. So if you're really looking to listen to us on audio platforms, you can follow us. They will go right into your feed. Leave a 5-star review like Jack said. We'd appreciate that very much. Tell your friends. Seriously, tell your friends. If they are looking for Celtic stuff, tell them. You can email us, hbtcpod@gmail.com. If you have thoughts on the preseason, your preseason grades, like we talked about earlier in the video, go ahead and send them in. We'd love to hear from you. hbtcpod@gmail.com. The socials are at How About Them C's. You can follow us there on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Facebook's just the name of the podcast. All streams are there. They're on YouTube. They're on Twitter. Jack's Twitter's at Jack's Money NBA. Mine's at Sam LaFrance NBA. That's it for us. Bye.
Taco, come on.
Taco's having some fun here.
That is bogus. These guys are ridiculous.